Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Entrepreneurial Audacity. Today, I have a very special guest on the show, Adrian. Adrian, I'm going to hand over to you. Can you give us an intro, who you are, what your business is?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Adrian Smith. I have a startup called Your Money, Your Plan, which basically came out of just a desire to help people with their personal finances. So I'm not in the financial advice space. I'm in the financial education space, basically wanting to take people from having no understanding of how to handle their personal finances and what's actually going on with their money to creating a budget, working on their mindset and understanding spending triggers, right through to debt management and an overview of wealth building strategies. What can we actually do once we've got the foundation in place? What can we begin to do to actually begin to build some wealth in our life? So that actually came about simply because I've wanted to start a business for quite some time. And I sort of thought about, what do I know? What have I learnt? What have I experienced that other people out there will want or need? And my wife and I, without going into the long explanation of it, my wife and I went through a real journey with our personal finances, and we had to learn a lot about handling money and about ourselves as well. And I looked back sort of, 12, 15 years ago when we were going through that. And I can remember thinking back then, I would so desperately love to be in the position that I'm in now. And that's where I thought, well, if I feel that, there's going to be other people out there that feel that as well, and I can help them with that. So that's a little bit of where I'm at.
I think that's beautiful. I love that, a lot of the time when we do start businesses and things, it's because the why behind it. And I love that you've gone on a personal journey with your wife as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about, maybe not so much the specifics of that, but at what point after you maybe got into a position where you were feeling quite comfortable with your finances and stuff that you decided to look back and say, all right, I'm going to help other people? Like, was there a pivotal moment where you decided you're going to be the business owner who does this?
I've always wanted to have a business, and I'm still working in a full-time job. And I've always wanted to have a business. I've always known that I'm capable of more. And there was always this wrestling within myself of what to do. And I think I had a lot of ideas, and I didn't pursue some of them. A lot of it was purely out of fear, because I didn't think I was capable of doing it, which sounds a little bit contradictory, I know, but I had a job, and that is supposedly secure. And jumping into business and getting into business and building something for myself, all the what ifs came up. What if it fails? What if people laugh at me? What are people going to think of me? All of that stuff came up for me. And there's been some moments where I've had an idea and the end result sounds great. And then I started looking into what it's going to take to actually get there. And I've gone, no, I don't know that I've got the energy or the capability for that. Until eventually one day, I just went, well, I've got to do something. I'm going nuts just working in a job and having nothing else. And so I went, I've got to do something. What can I do that is, number one, going to help people? Where is a gap in the market? Where's something that people are going to want or need? And so I started looking at my own experience and went, well, I've had a personal journey along with my wife about our personal finances. How can I help people in that? And when I started thinking about that, I sort of went, well, what does that look like as a business? And at the moment, it's a online course, and I'm going to be building it out. I'm going to be adding all sorts of different courses and things in the future. We're still working on a lot of that. But there was a point at which I went, do I really want to do this? Do people really want courses? And, is that... And I had to make a decision. I had to get to a final decision And one of the reasons I love that this is called Entrepreneur Audacity is because I had to have the audacity within myself to say, yes, I am capable. Yes, I am prepared to do the work. And yes, I can actually succeed in this. And if you can't get to that place as an entrepreneur, you know, I'm still in the early stages. I just can't see that you can win. Because if you're doubting yourself all the time, if you are second guessing yourself all the time without something to move you forward, then you're just going to bow to fear and the negative thoughts every single time.
Yeah, very, very valid point. There are so many fears that come in when you're going on these journeys. And I love that you tied it back into, you know, when you do go into starting a business and entrepreneurship, you do have to have a bit of audacity. And, you know, my intention with this podcast is to share stories of, you know, like from the likes of yourselves, of people who have done it and actually taken the risk, just said, stuff it, I'm going to dive in and we'll see what happens. And, you know, a lot of the time we look at these people who have started these big corporations and these, you know, the billionaires of the world, and they're just people as well. They've started, a lot of them have all like started with nothing as well. So they're still human beings, and everyone, no matter where you are on your journey, like you have something to offer the world, which is what I really love that you've tied it back into with yourself, that, you know, if you were struggling with these things, someone else would be, and there was a gap that you could close. So I think that's awesome. Now, I'd love to hear more about some of the fears that come up for you. And did you have a specific one that was maybe like reoccurring when you were first getting going?
Yeah, definitely. Look, and to be honest, it never goes away. I think there's a real skill in learning to identify when those thoughts and fears are coming up, and I guess grab them before they get embedded in your mind, to address them, I guess, and say, well, hang on, yes, that's a fear, but I'm not going to bow to it. I'm going to push through it. You know, I think there's always a level of fear. But some of those fears for me were, you know, what do you know about finance? My background is in working in audio, visual and live events, you know, like, and technical production. Like, what do you know about finance? Who's going to listen to you about finance? You know, and then exploring it a little bit more, you know, like I'm in my business at the moment, I've got to be quite careful that I don't go into financial advice, because financial advice is regulated. So I can't give financial advice. So I have to stay in the financial education space. So there's that kind of fear as well. You know, what if someone decides that they're not happy with the content or something like that and decides to report me or whatever, you know? And I've had it all checked, but, you know, I won't go into that. But there's lots and lots of fears, you know. What gives you the right? Who do you think you are? Who's going to listen to you? You know, you're going to fail. All of these fears that come up, that it becomes a choice as to whether you listen to them. And I think so many of us, and I've done this time and time again in life, we bow to our feelings. I don't feel like something today, therefore that's reality. And I mean, at the ripe old age of 41, I've realized that's just a load of crap. My feelings do not dictate reality. And so when I'm feeling like I'm failing in business, I go sometimes to my wife, sometimes I just sit down with myself and I go, this is how I'm feeling. I don't feel like I'm doing very well. I don't feel like I've achieved anything. I don't feel like this is working. I don't feel like there's any point to doing this. And, you know, either sometimes I have to remind myself, sometimes my wife will come in and say, well, hang on, you've achieved this, you've overcome this, you've dealt with this. Look at where you were 12 months ago, 2 years ago, whatever it might be. Look how far you've come. Don't quit now just because you're having a bad day. You know, don't quit now just because you've hit a hard time, you've hit something that's a bit difficult to overcome, because all that means is you're growing. You're learning, you're building something, and you have to go to another level to be able to continue moving forward, which in many ways, in most ways, is the point of being an entrepreneur. Like, if you
100%.
want to own a business, you are going to have to learn so much stuff. If you want to sort out your personal finances, which is what, YMYP, as I call it, Your Money, Your Plan, is all about, you're going to have to learn some stuff and put some effort in. And there's going to be days where you don't feel like it. There's going to be days where you feel like it's pointless and useless. And it's in those moments that you will determine your success. If you can't, we're all human. Sometimes we're going to bow to them. But on the whole, if we can push through in those moments, that's when success happens. It doesn't happen in the big celebrations and the big wins and when it's easy. It happens in the hard times when, regardless of how you're feeling about whether, you're doing well or it's easy or whatever it might be, those hard times is when you push through. That's when you win. Not when it's easy, not when the big launch happens and you make $1 million. You win in the hard times. That's what makes the celebration of all those things so worth it. Because you've pushed through and created something that most people don't. And I think that's where we get lost sometimes, is that we get so caught up in our own world and how what I'm doing is hard and whatnot, that we lose perspective on what's actually going on and sometimes how good we've actually got it and how well we've actually done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think mindset's a big one in entrepreneurship, because particularly if you're like me, a solo entrepreneur, starting it from scratch, starting on your own, you're doing everything. And that's a hard thing. It's a really hard thing. And if you're in the position where you are wanting to move from, say, having a job or having multiple jobs and you want to start your own business, and then if you add on top of that a family, I mean, life's crazy. If you're not willing to count the cost of that and the hard time and the fears that you're going to face, if you're not willing to cop that, if you're not willing to push through that and carve a path through those times, then you're not going to get where you want to go. Plain and simple. So a lot of it is choice. I fully believe that we can choose how we approach life. Yes, there is external circumstances. Yes, things that are out of our control. But sometimes we've got to actually acknowledge that that's out of my control. I'm not going to allow that to hold me back because there's nothing I can do about it anyway. If something happens, sorry, go ahead.
Such a good point. The element of control, and you're probably familiar with the sphere of control. There's things that we have direct control over, there's things we have influence over, and then there's things that are out of our control. And it is really important as we go through this process to understand, okay, in my control, not in my control, because a lot of the time we latch on to those things that aren't actually in our control, and we stress and we want to control and we want to manipulate, do all of the things. But actually, the best thing that you can do is just sit and enjoy the ride, even though it's bumpy and it's like, it's turbulent as right now. Just hold on and go for it. And like the water will clear. You know how it's like, the seas are rough right now, but it's not always going to be this rough.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be up and down. The entrepreneurial life is not for the faint-hearted.
It's not.
You are going to have people, I had some social media ads out, and I had a couple of comments on there, they were about, I can't remember exactly what it was, but some of the comments on there that I get on there, are really negative, and people are really negative and at times. And it's very easy to live in that, because it's easy to sit there and go, well, the world's against me. Everyone's against, the government's against me. My family's against me. The job's against me. The banks are against me. Credit card companies are against me. Everyone's against me. It's everyone else's fault. I can't do anything. It's too hard. And when you live in that, you're already defeated. You've already lost the game. And so there has to be a point for every single person, whether it's in life in general or whether it's in entrepreneurship, where you go, you know what? Stuff life, stuff what anyone else thinks, stuff what's going on around me. I am going to find a way through. I am going to find a way through. And actually committing to that. And you will find that the first month, 2 months, 6 months, possibly 2 years might be really, really tough. But that's because you're learning, you're growing. Yeah, anytime we have to learn something new and grow in something, it's tough. It's hard work. And entrepreneurship is no different, because at every level, you know, you start building a startup with a family around family life is hard work. You know, getting to the point where you're making $1 million a year, $1 million a month, whatever it might be. To go any further than that is hard work. You've got to go to another level. You've got to learn new things. It's constant learning. And I think the consistency is far more key than, you know, going hammer and tong on things. Yeah. I've spoken to so many people who've wanted to start a business or have tried to start a business, and they go hammer and tong, go full out for 90 days, and they burn themselves out because they're not sleeping enough, they're not looking after their health, and yeah, they might be getting a lot done, but in the end, they crash. And they're down right at a pivotal moment, and they go down and they can't get back up because they just burnt themselves out. And so I think, sorry, I feel like I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here.
That's all right. The tangents are welcome. Go for it. No, this is great. You're giving us gold, Adrian, because you're absolutely correct. It isn't in the moments where things are going great that proves like what our resilience is like and how we can actually move forward with things. It's in those times where the world is on your shoulder and it's hard and you do not want to get back up, because especially when you're starting, you know, a startup, like it's so hard. It is so hard.
Yep.
We will not beat around the bush on that. It is tough. It is not for the faint-hearted, because it will expose you in every way, shape, or form and strip you down to nothing.
Yep.
But as you say, it's in those moments where the growth happens, and that's where the magic happens, because it reveals the area that you need to grow in.
Yep.
And then, you know, being around other people who are also in business, because we all face the same thing. And, you know, I've spoken to people who started companies that are worth billions, and people who are just starting out. And we all face the same thing. We all get in our own way. We get in our head, and we have these moments of doubt and fear, and, you know, we don't want to get back up. But when you do dive into the entrepreneurial world and have a bit of audacity to just keep getting back up, because it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked back. If you keep getting back up, you'll win.
Eventually it happens.
Eventually it'll happen.
Eventually it'll happen.
Yeah.
You know? And one of the things that really bugs me about the entrepreneur world, and particularly mostly how it's portrayed on social media, is that, you know, like I'll be scrolling on Instagram or Facebook or something like that, and there is so many influencers on there. And I have nothing against influencers as such, but they sell this message of, hey, we can show you how to write your course or write your product in, you know, do it in 2 minutes, and then you can make $15,000 or $20,000 in your first month. Bullshit. I'm sorry. Some people may have been able to do that. 99% of people can't. And not because they're not capable, but because when you hear that message, basically what they're saying is, oh, this is easy. Just do X, Y, and Z, and hey, you're making a fortune. I'm sorry, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
The other thing that really bugs me about, and it's kind of dropped off now, I think, in the last sort of 3 or 4 years, but this idea of hustle culture. Because for me, it portrays this idea of don't stop. You can't stop. You've just got to go, 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 go. And as I said before, you're going to burn yourself out. And I think a better message for new people coming into business, and and into entrepreneurship, whatever it is that you're wanting to do, is don't aim to hustle. Yes, there will be times you have to do that. There will be times you have to go hard because you're launching something or you've got a new product or there's issues you have to deal with. There's going to be those times. That's the reality. But if you aim for consistency over hustle, you will keep yourself in the game a whole lot longer and you will be able to build the resilience you need to stay in the game. Whereas hustle culture is all about get it done now, get it done now, get it done now. Do this, do that, launch this, don't stop. And I think there's value in pushing, but there's also value in stepping back sometimes and allowing yourself to recover, allowing yourself to enjoy what you've achieved. So often we don't. We achieve something and we go, awesome, great, pop the champagne, tomorrow we're getting onto this new thing. And we move on to the next thing and we don't stop to enjoy what we've actually achieved in business, in life, whatever it is, because we keep getting told you've got to keep moving forward. You've got to do the next thing, the new thing. Yeah. And sometimes we actually recharge better if we just take a step back and stop and go, I'm just going to enjoy this for a couple of days, a few days. And I'm not going to put the pressure on myself to have something new every single day.
Yeah. Our brains can't handle it. If you look at the research, if you look at all the research, particularly in the neuroscience space, we need those breaks. When they say schedule a holiday every quarter, there is a reason for that. They have looked into it. It is statistically proven the benefits of having scheduled time, that you don't work on anything, you're not grinding away, that toxic hustle culture isn't coming into play because it's not fun. You don't want to be on all the time. Don't get me wrong. Exactly. There's nothing more I love than talking business. Let's talk money. Let's talk success. But I also want to be able to just laugh and play and be goofy and, enjoy my life and have fun with my friends' kids and just turn off. Have a vegetable day on the couch where I do nothing but just chill and relax.
Yeah.
Because that's equally as important.
Exactly. And I think also in those times, I know this is a real challenge for me, actually. I'm trying to get a startup running. I've got a full-time job, a wife and 2 kids, who I love to death, and trying to balance all of that is a massive issue. But there are times where I come home from work, I've had a massive day, whatever it is, and I sit down on the couch and I go, I just can't. And now that's not every day. I don't allow that for myself every day. But there are days where I have to allow myself to just go, I have to acknowledge that unfortunately in this moment, I have to step back. I have to allow myself to just rest because my brain and my body are not going to cope otherwise. Yeah. And I think there's wisdom in that. And unfortunately, we don't hear enough of that. We don't hear enough of how much rest we actually need. I heard, I can't remember who it was. It was someone well known, I think over in the US, in the business space. And they were saying, if you're starting a business and you're getting more than 4 hours sleep a night, you're not going to be successful. And I'm going, I'm sorry, what? How are you you can't sustain that. Maybe in your 20s you can for a little while, but you sustaining only 4 hours sleep a night because you are on for the other, 20 hours? Give me a break. Yeah. We can't sustain that. And there might be a time you have to do that, but it shouldn't be expected. You shouldn't be sitting there going, if I'm not doing that, then I'm not going to succeed. Because the reality is there's plenty of people that have been able to do that. Now, you may succeed a whole lot faster if you do that because you're putting the time and effort in. And if you're able to do that for a short time to get your business up and running, well done, all power to you. But if you assume that that's what entrepreneurship is before you even start, there's a very high chance that you're going to go, well, screw that. Why on earth would I want to be an entrepreneur if I lose my entire life?
Yeah.
It just becomes a burden to achieve what?
Yeah.
And this is where I have these issues with some of the messages that come through on social media. So anyone out there that is listening that's thinking about starting a business, okay, be very careful what you listen to on social media.
Yeah.
Because on social media, they will tell you what they want you to hear. Plain and simple. They tell you what they want you to hear to either buy from them or to make themselves look good. And that's not criticizing them. That's essentially marketing. So be careful of what you see on social media and how much you take it on board. If there's someone that you want to follow that's on social media, great. Look into who they actually are. Where have they come from? What have they built? What is their background? And what do they actually know? Before you just take on board exactly what they say.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to go down the wrong path.
Absolutely. And you are totally right. It is such, like, social media is great. It's absolutely a phenomenal tool for our lives, and
Absolutely
I love it. But I
is.
equally hate it. You know, and I hate it because it does portray that everything's perfect and everything. You know, it's highlight reels of, oh, look how fabulous everything is. And I don't know about you, Adrian, but I can't lie to save my life. You will know what's going on with me, right? I've just endured like a foot injury that's basically impacted my life for the last year and a half. And it has taken a massive toll on me mentally, financially, physically, everything, in every aspect of my life. And I've been quite transparent with that on my social media because I can't, you know, I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, great. I've got nerve damage in my foot and everything's fucking great, because it's not, you know, like I'm in constant pain. It's shit. I don't have any income coming in because I can't work, you know, like, and when you, like, for a really long period of that, I had to be on a lot of different medications and painkillers, and they would just make me feel so dead that I couldn't, my brain was dead. And I'm, you know, always like, yes, cool, can keep doing stuff, can be doing things. But then it's like, actually, no, I just needed to rest and needed to do nothing. But when you then go on social media and it's like this toxic hustle culture and it's like, do all of the things. And I just can't understand why people try and portray that, because we're real, we're human beings, we have feelings, we have needs, and that constant pressure of always being on, it might get you stood up and it might get you making a bit of money, but at some point there will come a gap that is exposed, and it might be the fact that you've been sleeping for 4 hours every single night for the last 6 months, and now you need to basically comatize yourself for a week because you haven't had any rest. And your body
or
can't
worse, you end up in hospital because your body starts shutting down.
Yeah.
You know, that's I actually have spoken to someone who actually went through that. You know, they went through that whole process of believing that, you know, you just had to hustle. And, you know, they would literally, their 24-hour day was business. All right, I'm a little bit tired now. I'm going to go and sleep for an hour. And then they'd get up and they'd keep going because they believed that's what it was. Yeah. That's what it was supposed to be. And they ended up in the hospital for 6 months. Yeah. You know, and it just wreaked havoc on their body because they weren't allowing themselves to actually get the rest that they needed. And it took him probably another 12 months to undo that mindset and begin to put things in place whereby he could work effectively on his business and keep building his business while also getting the rest and being able to recover and being able to spend time with family and friends and all that sort of stuff that he needed to do. Yeah. And he did, and he's in a much better place now. But it's such a fallacy that you have to give up your entire life. Yeah. You know, if you're a single person who wants to do that and you just want to focus 100% on your business, go for it. But you don't have to give up your entire life. You can build something successful while you've got the rest of life going on. Yeah. We don't need to kill ourselves for this sort of stuff.
I think that's beautifully said, Adrian, because it's right. You don't have to kill yourself for your business. And what is the point of going into business if that's what it's going to take from you? You know, because a lot of the time when you ask people the why behind them going into entrepreneurship and them starting this company or this organization or doing this, it's to free their time up to have time with their family, to make an impact back to society or on the world. It's not to have a diary that's got 12 hours of meetings with it, to sleep for 4 hours, to not have any time to see my family, to be running my health straight into the ground because I don't know, you know, like this is the norm and this is what success looks like. There's absolutely a need to have urgency when you are going into business because that's a requirement, right?
Of course.
You got to act on the things that come up, but you also have to know when to put the gas on and when to take it off because just like a car, we'd run out of fuel.
Yep. And another challenge actually that I've faced quite a bit is I'm much more of a big picture thinker. So if I have to sit down and really work through the minute details of something, it drives me nuts. It really does. Give me the big picture and I'll make it happen. But if I have to, going through the details of things drives me nuts. And it's probably one of the things that for quite some time stopped me from getting into business because, you know, you've got to be able to see the big picture and also get down to the nitty gritty of the details. And so I'm learning that. But being a big picture thinker, it's so easy. I could sit here right now and daydream and come up with probably 10 different ideas that I could roll out for my business. Like just surface level ideas, just bang, 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 bang. And the danger is that you get in your mind that if I have an idea, I've got to get it out there now. And sometimes what I was saying before about the consistency, we need to come back and go, hang on, what's important now? What is most important now? For example, in YMYP right now, my focus is solely on sales. That's it. What do I need to do to increase my sales? That's it. I have a million different ideas, a million different things that I could get distracted by and could work on that aren't actually going to move the needle, as they say in entrepreneur circles. It's not going to move my business forward. It's going to create a whole bunch of extra mental load. So what I do, if an idea pops into my head, I've got a couple of apps and some notes and stuff that I use. I jump on, I drop them in and go, hey, this is an idea I've got. You know, I use Claude at times as well. This is an idea I've got, and I don't want you to do anything with it. I just want you to sort of catalog it for future.
Yeah, park it. It's a great thing to do because you are 100% correct. Especially when you're a visionary, you know, we're very similar in that sense. I am blue sky thinking like there is no limit. We can do everything. And when it comes to the detail, that's my gap because we've got the image, like, let's go. And it's funny, I've got a good friend who's the total opposite to me and we work really well together because I'm like, right, direction, this is where we're heading. And he's the detail to help get us there. And it's just funny when you then are like going through this journey. But when you do have these ideas, if you start to even like look into it and you're like, oh, okay, I'll just have a look, see what it reckons. And then it's 4 hours later, you've brainstormed all this stuff. You're like, I can start this or I need to have this. And then you've wasted 4 hours faffing around instead of 4 hours of sales, which is as you say, the thing that will move the needle of your business.
Right.
So what would you say, like, how do you manage that? Well, you've just said that you park it, but is there anything else that comes in? Because I know that you'd probably get some really cool ideas or like other ventures that come on your plate that, you know, and how do you work through that? Like, how did you get to a point of understanding what the critical thing was?
Yeah, look, for me, it's whatever's right in front of me. So my thoughts are with YMYP, for example. Actually, I'll give you an idea. So last year, I actually had another business as well. I had two businesses I was trying to start at the same time. So that business was what I called, called Lucad AV Academy. So it was training high school students on live production and events type stuff. And so I had two businesses, a full-time job and family. Okay. I was running that business Monday nights my normal work day was Tuesday to Saturday. So that in itself takes a toll. We're working through part of a weekend. And so I had all these ideas. I had so many things I wanted to do. And I had to make the difficult decision at the end of last year. Something's got to give, because one of these businesses is going to progress and build, and the other one's going to suffer, because I can't put an equal amount of time into each of them. I can't spread myself that thin. It doesn't work. And I didn't want to give up either of them, because I love the idea of both of them. But at the end of last year, I decided that the AV Academy needed to at least be paused for 12 months until I could get it going. So now my aim is to build sales, to begin to create, I've got the funnel in place, but begin to get that funnel working within YMYP. So I've got some money coming in, because without having that cash flow, I don't have a business. My business just stops. So for me, it's about what is the most important thing right now. And if you can't define that, if you can't see what that is, you need to stop everything and work that out, because you can't move forward if you're focused on the wrong things. You just can't. There has to be a point at which you define this is the most important thing. Yes, there's going to be other things you've got to do. Like, I'm working on sales for YMYP. Part of that is developing and producing social media content, and working on ads and working on, there's other things that are related to that. But the core of it is to build sales. If I'm out there developing a new course, or I'm developing, some app or something else that's not going to be ready for another 12 months, if I'm putting all my time into that, well, then I'm losing out now. And I'm not able to actually get to a point where I've got the cash flow coming in to be able to achieve all those ideas and things that I've wanted to do. So identify what the most important thing is right now, because that is what will move your business forward. Plain and simple. And I think sometimes in business, we like to complicate things. And there will be times where there will be things that are conflicting. There will be times you're going to have to go through your business finances. There will be times where, all of a sudden, for some reason, your website disappears or breaks down or something, and it's a crisis and you've got to jump in. Those are just a reality of business. But with all of that to move your business forward, there is going to be that one thing to focus on. It might be systems and processes. You might go, we've got lots of sales and plenty of sales coming in, but we're losing sales and revenue because our systems and processes are up the creek. Whatever it might be. Maybe you've got a supply chain issue. Maybe you've got whatever. There's a myriad of issues it could be, but identify what is the most important thing now. What's going to have the biggest impact on your business now? And deal with that, work through that, and get to a point where you can go, that is now running. That is now operational. That is now, I can hand that off to a staff member, or I can, that's automated, whatever it might be. And now I can move on to the next thing. Hope that answers your question. I think we so often like to complicate things and think that business is this massive, big thing. And sometimes it can feel that way, but more often than not, there is always one thing that we can focus on.
Yeah. And
if there's not, then you might have some bigger issues within your business.
100%. You're absolutely correct with that. It's funny how we can, go down these rabbit holes and, spend a lot of time doing things that aren't going to move much forward. So, you're right with that. One thing I would like to touch on before we close up this episode, Adrian, this has been a really fun chat so far as well.
Good. Good. I'm glad it has.
It's really valuable, because this is the reality. And I think no one really covers it. Say like, oh, it's great, like go into business, become an entrepreneur, do all of these things. But it's like, okay, great. You get sold these picture perfect hustle mentalities online, and then comes to reality and you're sitting there in fear and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I get through all of this stuff? And then it's like, I'm moving, I'm doing all of the things, but it's like, actually just pull yourself back, find the one thing that's actually going to move the needle forward, focus on that, and then that will unlock the rest of the things later on. So I think that's really, like, you know, you've highlighted so many good points throughout this episode, and I've really loved this chat. And I want to ask the question that I ask everyone. So, Adrian, what does Audacity mean to you?
Audacity. I would say, this is going to come across the wrong way, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Send it.
I would say it's a whole lot of screw you. And what I mean by that is, actually, I'm actually saying that to myself, because to have audacity, I think there's a difference between audacity and arrogance. Audacity is, for me, saying, I may not be ready. I may not be perfect. I may not have everything I need. I may not know everything, but screw you, I'm going to do it anyway. And brain and heart and whatever else, you can sit and scream at me all day and tell me to stop. I'm going to bloody well do it anyway. And that for me is audacity. It's about not caring what others think, not caring in some ways what I think. Because if I, as I said before, you know, if I allow my mindset to go to the fears and tell me why it won't work, then I'm not going to get off my butt and do it, am I? So for me, audacity is just that, screw you. Or screw me in some ways, you know. Get off your butt and do it, whether you feel like it, whether you think you can. Get off your butt and do something. You know, I often think that, and one of the things I do believe in business is that some people seem to naturally be business minded, and it seems to come a little bit easier to them. And then there's other people who have to work really flipping hard at it. Okay? Neither one of those people gets to escape hard work. Some people, it seems to come easy. They seem to portray it easily, but it doesn't mean that they don't have to work hard. Other people, just, it seems like hard work from the start. But does that mean it's not worth it? That's the question I have. Is it going to be worth it? That's always the question I have. And if the answer to that question, is it going to be worth it, is yes, then you've got to find the audacity to go, well, I'm going to do it anyway, no matter what comes.
I love that. Beautiful. Beautifully said, Adrian. Thank you so much. That was absolutely excellent. I love that. And that's the whole concept with Audacity. You know, when I was pondering on what to call the podcast and how to go about this, Audacity really took a shining to me, because it's having the courage and it's just leaning in and embracing it, thinking, screw you, whether it be yourself and or others, just diving into it. So I think that's really excellent. And I love that, because that's exactly what you need if you're going to be an entrepreneur. If you're going to do anything in life, you've got to have a bit of courage, bit of audacity to just take that risk and just move through it. So, Adrian, to tie up this episode, is there one bit of advice or thought or feeling that you would like to leave the listeners with?
Yeah, definitely. If you are thinking of starting a business, follow Nike's advice. Just do it. You won't be ready. I don't think any of us are truly ready. Just do it. Start. Find a way to start, and have the audacity to start. If you've already got a business and, you know, things are going great, fantastic. Find someone that you can mentor. Find someone that you can share it with, because there's plenty of people out there that want to know what you know and need your support. And if you're struggling in business, keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. It won't be like that forever. And if you need advice, you need help, reach out. Find people who are doing what you're doing. Find a support network. Reach out and bash people's doors down until someone answers. And eventually you'll find someone who will walk through things with you. So
That'd
be my advice.
Love it. Thank you, Adrian. That was
No
awesome.
worries.
What a great way to close off the episode. So, listeners, as always, thank you for joining us. Adrian, thank you for your time. This has been absolutely wonderful. We'll put all of the contact information for yourself and the podcast and everything that we spoke about today in the show notes. Adrian, is there any way or a preference on where you'd like our listeners to reach you if they want to get in touch to know more about your business?
Look, you can find me on Instagram. The handle is just Your Money, Your Plan. Drop me an email. I think my email address is in it should be in the show notes as well.
Yep.
I'm still working on building our website, so that's not quite live yet. I've got a couple of sales pages, but they're probably the best ways. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but Instagram's the most active one at the moment. So, yeah. If you want to know any more about Your Money, Your Plan, please drop me a line.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Adrian.
No problem. My pleasure. It's been fantastic.